Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome back to the High Vibe podcast. I am Coach Dawn, and today we are here to talk about long distance relationships. So just to put in context, Derek and I have talked about a multitude of things, when to be transparent in a relationship. And we just feel that was a great segue into how we have managed our relationship from afar.
Ooh.
And so the transparency part of that engagement, that connectedness that we have been navigating for almost 5 years, allowed for this part of us to talk about people who are like us, are navigating a relationship in 2 different states. I'm in Minnesota, Derek is in Ohio, but also relationships that are, international. I have a girlfriend right now who's navigating, in that space. And so I feel, because I think there's a lot of blocks against, I think there's more against, ooh, because I was that person, I was her. That no way, I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I need this. I have to have my person around, all of these things. And yes, I was her. Derek, being Derek, my co-host in this beautiful experience of the High Five podcast, he has a completely different perspective. Shocker there, right? And for us to come together on what Derek has been experiencing as a man, being away from his beautiful, warm body, his person, his human, his confidant, his trusted love. I really want to bring and honor that perspective so men can hear it too. Because here at the High Vibe podcast, we're here to elevate your mindset. We're here to dive into the normal everyday things that all of us as humans are experiencing and how we as a couple, as well as individually, navigate through those challenges.
Amen and amen. And I will co-sign on that. It is difficult enough to, walk through this journey, by yourself. And it's even more difficult if you find yourself in a situation where you're solo, to find a companion that can meet or exceed where you are on your journey, or at the very least have that partner that matches. So I'm excited about talking about the long distance. I have definitely a male perspective about this, and I look forward to chopping this up. Before every episode, we do our best to not go into any details about the actual topic. Obviously, after being together for 4 years, we believe we know each other pretty well, but we also believe and we also know that it's been a journey. So sometimes we're going to be revisiting some things that didn't work out as smoothly as we would like, or as smoothly as it is now. Mm-hmm. But you know what? The reason why we're even here, as Dawn said, is because, number one, we believe with all our hearts that we have cultivated a really incredible, unique relationship over the last 4 years. So it's been distance tested, time tested, and most of the other tests that all relationships face. So today we're going to crank out and start with communications, and Coach Dawn's going to give us her perspective about, which is if you were looking at last episode, we talked about transparency. Communications is number one.
It is number one, and I would put over communicate in front of communication. So for me, the energy behind how I show up with my person is being very impeccable with the things that I share with my person, the things that I share with my man. I am very mindful of how powerful language and being able to completely express and communicate how I'm feeling, what I'm navigating, and finding that sweet spot in that over communication. I want my partner to feel safe, secure. I want my partner, especially we have to understand as a man, my man has said to me multiple times, let's listen, we're listening with our active ears. Mm-hmm. He wants to know where he stands.
Yeah.
And so ladies, when we hear these things, right? It's like, how are you interpreting when your man says he wants to know, where I stand, and your communication and how you show up with your powerful, intentional beingness? Because remember, we're that soft, beautiful place to land, as well as that very powerful, nurturing, strong other side
Right.
that our man needs to sometimes, pull himself out of the heaviness as a Black man has to navigate in this world. And so me being the over communicator, the one that loves language and loves words, I'm very mindful of what I say, and not in a way that I'm walking on eggshells. So I want to be really
Yeah.
clear about
Yeah.
that.
Let's set the context
Yeah.
to this discussion. So we first met, our relationship was, I was coaching her on and assisting her and helping her launch her business. And so we spent a tremendous amount of time not in the, romantic relationship space. Our initial time was understanding each other from a business perspective. And so what Don will tell you is that I am extremely perceptive. I pay attention to everything, right? Oh, babe, you need to paint your toenails, right? I mean, I pay attention to everything. So even though we were doing business, which is really great in business, right? Because you remember what people's goals are, their intentions are, what their opportunities are, what their motivation is. So anyway, when you convert that into a relationship, and I have always said this, and this is something that us men, we have to be honest about, and we have to figure out what it is. Like for me, I've always wanted to know where I stand, and it stems from when you were a little kid, maybe not a little kid, but that middle school kid who was trying out for the team, and you're trying to figure out, am I going to make this team? Am I not going to make the team? Where do I stand amongst these other players? Do I have to break that dude's neck in order for you to see me? I just need to know where I stand so I know what actions I need to take to continue to maneuver.
Yes.
And then this has been a theme of my life. So not only in sports, but in business and in relationships, when I'm interviewing a client, I'm trying to get to figure out where we at. Where am I in this equation? So I know if I need to put more energy in, retract some energy. So when I say where I stand, if I don't know, I get really antsy.
Yes.
And it's not like every day, are we an item? Are we, committed? Are we? It wasn't like that. It was more so the communication thing. So Coach Dawn or Dawn says, hey, I over communicate, and everything is relative, right? So I can say, somebody came to me and says, hey, I need you to help out this family member. They came into some money and they got a lot of money now and they need some help. And so I said, okay, great. And I meet the family member and say, okay, so here you need some help, blah, blah, blah. What did you inherit? And they say, oh, I inherited $1,500. That's when you learn everything's relative.
Yes.
So I wanted to put the context out because we had the blessing of getting to know each other.
Yes.
Our temperament, our habits, our insights, our thought process, the way we kind of maneuver things before we were actually in a relationship. And some of that helps and some of that hurts, but we'll talk about it as we continue to go on. So you talked about the communication, Coach Dawn, and how impeccable you are. And most guys are not quite as impeccable. And I know I wasn't as impeccable. But
I know you could be.
Oh, absolutely.
But I know you had the potential.
Absolutely.
Okay? When we talk about dating for potential and being in relationships for potential.
Oh, you talking about Dr. Umar?
No, that's baby. That's a whole nother show. Let's reel this back in. So just being able to find that space in communication where we connect. So clearly, as both as entrepreneurs, money coach, life and wellness coach, just being able to find multiple places to connect as humans, as male, that was, I truly believe that allowed for more levels of connectedness for us in our communication. And then also truly paying attention to again, transparency. We talked about triggers
Yeah.
and just being an empathetic, compassionate partner. If you know full well the things that trigger your person, because again, we've got to meet each other where we're at. And so once you are aware of those things as the loving partner, that being in your awareness, well, what are you doing to support your partner in that? There are so many different ways you can reframe or navigate difficult conversations that still may be very triggering to your partner in a very loving and elevated way. I always know when it's time to over communicate or navigate a contentious conversation or a conversation where we had some disagreements, because that is the normal part of being in community with, with your partner, to come from a place where I was good, I was elevated, not coming from a place of anger and bitterness and I'm gonna show him. No, when you're long distance, it's like he doesn't get the 24/7, 365 opportunity to know I'm stomping around the house pissed off at something that he said. So I have to be able to show up in a way, timely, to discuss the things so they don't sit and brew and stew and allow for other stories to start coming up. And then that's when that big downward spiral in that connection and communication space. So really come from a place of, I'm mature, I'm elevated, we're not little kids here. Finding that space of being able to communicate with your partner from your own place of love and self-awareness and beingness, instead of coming from a place of insecurity and wounds.
Right.
It just feels differently. And we have had to be like hyper vigilant about energy.
Yeah. Let's talk about the ways we do communicate, and we always have. So, I'm talking about just the basics. So we text pretty regularly. One of us is doing a good morning. Because of our time difference, I try not to do it too often to wake her up, because I'm a early bird.
Yes.
But she still likes to get the good morning, and she'll remind me every once in a while. It would be nice if you launched the good morning first. I'm happy to wake your ass up and make your phone ding. But we text, and we don't call a whole lot. We call when we're in the car. So if we're in the car and unable to see each other, we call. But mostly, when we communicate, we text and see if the other is available, and then we FaceTime.
Yes.
And we're super respectful of each other's potential disposition. So we always text first. Can you chat? And even on my phone, it's super cool because, with the new iPhone, not the new iPhone, but the versions a year or so ago, I put in when she says, can you chat? My phone has a special little, Siri has a special thing it does. It dings. So when I plug my phone up, it says, thank you, my king, and so what does yours say when you plug yours up, babe?
Just
You're welcome, baby, or something. Thank you, baby.
Thank you, baby. Yes.
So you can make your phone,
baby.
So you can make your phone do these little things based on certain text. So when she texts me, can we chat? I get a special thing, so that alerts me to know, hey, she's available. Is it a good time for me to take a break? Am I free? If I'm not free, can I maneuver and hit her back? So that's the way we communicate a lot of the times. We do the traditional things. I get a card, and every once in a while she sends cards. So you do the surprise thing. I'll drop ship something from Amazon to her house if she's, one time she was upset about the air fryer was broke. So I just drop shipped her a new one. Right. And those are the surprises. She didn't have to ask for it. It's something that she needed. And it makes people feel hurt and all those type of things. And I'm not suggesting I'm perfect. I'm just saying this is the way that we communicate, like physically, in order to do our best to stay connected.
I love that. And that whole, you said a mouthful with just the respect piece. I don't assume or make assumptions that you always have capacity and space. You are a business owner, you are a father, you have a community of people that that you serve,
Mm-hmm.
every day. So I'm very mindful of
Yep.
that. And so, but he knows if I am calling and he can pick up the phone to chat, he always does. And we
Yeah.
have definitely laid out a level of, I guess, rituals and consistencies within that cadence of how we communicate.
Yeah.
And so, and there have been times where, especially, and it could still happen today. Let's be
Mm-hmm.
really
Yeah.
real, where I'm not as communicative. At times, I'm like, nope, I shut like everybody out and I get into my own little flow state. And when I'm in my flow state, it can be really challenged for him to not take that personally. It's like, well, and with our time difference, that's also, been a key relevant factor in, his mood at times. He's an hour ahead. He gets up several hours earlier than I do. So I'm ramping up.
Mm-hmm.
And Derek is ramping down. And so
Right.
I have to get used to, I need to find that sweet spot of my man's energy where, we both can connect because we are both coming from the same place. And that isn't 100% resolute. Trust me,
Right.
it isn't.
No, it's not.
There's times when I know I look in the phone, I look in the FaceTime, and my baby is like, "Ooh, Jesus, that vibration is low.
It's low.
He's tired.
I got no poker face.
Got no. Oh yeah, it's just like he's just like, I'm tired, and why are you just now?
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock at night. Why are you just now putting me on the list? Yep.
Exactly. And he just feels like, hey, are you working me in after you have done all these other things in your day? And so I have definitely had opportunities to do better, in that space. But he also had to decide that, okay, she is served just like him. She serves all of these different humans. She's a mother. She's running around track coaching and, just always, we are givers. We are doers. We are people that do show up for others. And he has to honor at times, okay, she's doing her thing. She's in her flow state. There are people that, she serves and that need her. I'm good.
Yeah.
I can be good in that moment. And I know that can be a challenge space, but
absolutely. Hey, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and talk about how challenging that really was.
Feeling stuck? Lost in the routine of life? Your finances a puzzle you can't solve? It's time to break free. Introducing Mutual Magic, a transformative 21-day journey designed exclusively for women ready to reclaim their power and organize their lives. With our expert-crafted network, daily meditations, and essential financial tools, you'll redefine what success looks like. Track your progress within our mobile app, dive into self-care and mindfulness, and connect with money and life coaches when you need guidance. Day by day, step by step, watch as you transform, emerging more confident, focused, and financially empowered. Join us, and in just 21 days, find yourself not just dreaming of a better life, but living it. Mutual Magic, where your transformation begins.
So let's talk about that because, for us, I can't ever remember Dawn initiating anger that I can recall. I'm just being honest. I can't recall it. So that means that probably if it has happened, it's happened so rarely, I can't remember any of them. And I got a good memory. So most of the time it's me. And, it is that, it's 10 o'clock at night. You've been doing whatever you've been doing all day. I haven't bugged you and we haven't connected. So what's what? And then it was, so I'd be, judging my own value at that point. And then it might go a couple days where we text, but we don't talk. And after a couple days, then I'm really just gone. Right. And let's be honest, it stems from what you're used to. So in the past, in my marriage, I was used to where you at, I just left the house 5 minutes ago. Where are you at? I'm pulling up to the office, right? It's lunchtime. Where you at? I'm at my office. It's dinner time. What time you coming home? Right. So you get home. So I was used to the full court press. And then even after I was divorced and dated, I was getting text every half hour, every hour. What's going on? What's up? And it wasn't because I'm not trustworthy. It's just they were clingers. And so to go from a stage 5 clinger to somebody,
you got to make some folks mad. There's some stage 5 clingers out there, and I will find a different word
yeah,
to describe. They're just very attached.
yeah, there you go. And I understand being attached. I was used to it.
Yes.
You need to be trying to figure out what I'm doing and where I'm at, because that's how good I am.
Well, so yes, that's where you navigated from. It's like, 100%. Wait a minute, how come she's not like?
Yeah, I mean, we're already long distance. Yeah, I already don't know what you're up to. I know what I'm doing. I'm an empty nester, so you're not thinking that she's got kids and groceries and phone calls and teacher conferences. You're not even thinking about that because you're at home or at your office all alone, able to come and go with the easiest of ease. And so you're looking at life from your past perspective and your current disposition, and you're going, what's up with that? And so every argument, I'm going to go out on a limb and say every argument that we have ever had has been because I'm like, well, obviously I'm not important because I ain't heard from you all day, or I haven't heard from you in 2 days, or you waited until 11 o'clock at night to text me if I'm free. So obviously I'm last on your priority list. And that took some getting used to, because some of it was me and some of it was her. Most of it was me, but some of it was her. And so she's already said that she had to come to a rhythm. Yeah. And I can tell when she gets out of rhythm, and she usually can tell it's time to get back in rhythm because I don't have no poker face. So she calls and I'm pouting, or I'm like, it's too late. I'm in the bed. Forget it. Mm-hmm. So she gets the message, and then we figure it out. But I will say, before I talk to you about, the real issue of how we're able to successfully host this relationship, which is trust and security, I will say that we said this with transparency. It really does take 2 people on their journey, mm-hmm. and 2 people willing to be considerate and understanding, and wanting to work together in order to do any relationship, let alone a long distance relationship. And so I encourage you to not limit your borders if you know and believe that you are mature enough to have that person. So what about security and trust? How does that play into our long distance?
Security and trust.
Yeah.
Well, I will always say all of those things start with you. Start with how you feel about yourself. Are you a trusted voice? Do you trust yourself in relationships? Do you trust your intuition? Do you trust what you know? Do you trust what you feel? And because I have such a strong sense of who I am, it's a choice. I choose not to focus on everything that Derick, is doing. Is he thinking about me? I have such a foundation in the way that I navigate that is very confident and strong within myself, that I don't create stories around what he's doing. I don't attach his previous dating history or the things that happened when he was married. I don't draw from and pull from those maybe negative experiences that happen in those relationships. I know myself well enough to really feel that I'm going to show up in a very loving way. Derick has completely communicated some of the things that he has navigated in his past relationships. And I know, like, well, that's not me, and that's not how I show up. That's part of the reason why we're even together in the first place. And that's why a lot of couples get together in the first place, because we are like literally the opposite. And the new thing that is refreshing and healing and loving that they haven't had in the past. So I know my value. I know my worth. I know that the energy and the feelings that I have for him, I have been able to get to a space where he can feel that. You have to pay attention to those things that like literally make your heart, your person's heart just explode. And I consistently pour back into him in a way that does build that trust, because he can feel that, oh, she sees me. Oh, she gets it. I love that. And he's able to tell me when I do something that just means the world to him. The way he reacts and responds when I do those things, I'm like, aha, put a pin in that. Do more of that, Dawn, because look at how that builds him up in a way. And so, yes, and we move consistently in action and intentionality around those things that allow my partner just to be like, thank you, babe. Thank you.
So I'm going to share my perspective, more as a perspective to help everybody, not everybody, the men figure out what's what with them, because, we have to take some ownership for just letting stuff sink in or soak in, not really saying anything. And then you want to blow up when it's, too much to bear. Mm-hmm. But I'll say this from a long distance relationship perspective. And you know what? And this, what I'm getting ready to share doesn't even matter if you're together every day or if you're long distance. Mm-hmm. What allows me to operate at my highest level in this relationship, even on my own, is because of the truth. Now, what I mean by that is I already told you, I pay very close attention to little things, to big things, to me. I just pay attention. And I will say the truth is that Dawn has never lied to me. You know how us guys will lie about the little things? What you been doing? Nothing. And your ass been to the store. You've been in the barber. You've been to the playing some poker. What you up to? Nothing. What you doing today? Nothing. It's the little things that we lie about that make women look at us cross-eyed. But she's never lied. And when I say that, I mean little things, big things. She just tells it like it is. And when you're dealing with someone like that who lives it, I mean, and you can see it, because, right, how many times have you been in the room with your partner and they're on the phone with somebody and they lying their ass off? Oh, girl, I was busy, blah, blah, blah. Or, mom, I couldn't because just lying. And you're sitting there and you're going, oh, man, if they'll lie to their mom and lie to their girlfriend, lie to their daddy, they'll lie to me. But she doesn't do any of that. And so it makes it super easy, because if I ask her something, she's going to tell me. If I say, what you been up to, first of all, she's going to tell me. It ain't going to be nothing. She's going to tell me, right? And so I already know, or I don't already know, but I know, and then I know and trust because she's always been truthful with me. In every little thing that I can even imagine that you normally in the past have caught people, kind of telling a little white fib about. She don't even play like that. So it's easy for me to be like, it's cool because she'll tell me, right? And then we've also had those hard conversations. Like, if something's going sideways, you need to like let me know up front before it gets too sideways, because we long distance, and it ain't that hard to break up when you long distance. You just don't go back.
Well, and then I'm mindful of, your nurturing provider energy. And so I'm also a nurturer and have providing energy. So
which is the next thing I want to talk about.
Yes. And so we, navigate this collaboration within those two mindsets.
Yeah.
He's a nurturer, so am I. Yep. And we're both providers.
Yeah. So let me say something about
feelings around that.
Yeah. So what happens with us is that, and I don't know, guys, if you've ever paid attention to this, but I paid attention to it. I figured it out after about 3 meetings. I figured this out. So when I go visit, it's not when she comes to visit me. When I go home to my second home, I won't say visit. When I go home, my second home, I have to allow for a day of adjustment, right? And not as much now, but a little bit still now, because, the first, 3 years of our relationship, there were kids in the house or young men in the house. And so she's the provider. She's the mama. I hate to say she's the daddy. she's the one that they're asking everything for, right? So she didn't have anybody to bounce off what's for dinner. Can you run into the store? She just didn't. She was providing. And so it took her a day to stop racing and opening doors before me. It took her a day to, she was always a big fan of not driving. So that wasn't hard, but it was the other male energy,
but it's the little things. Drive for me, baby. Drive me around.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah, but it took a second for her to get in her feminine energy more so. And we actually talked about it, and I shared it with her. I said, one time I got there, I said, I'm gonna give you a day. And she's, what are you talking about? I'm gonna give you a day to get out of all this authoritative, driving. You're the driver of what's what. And it wasn't because I wanted to drive. It's just because it's the natural order of things. And if everybody's not playing their position, you're going to butt heads. And so since that conversation, we really haven't had that kind of issue. And it was never a fight. It was just more uncomfortable. Like, okay, look, you need to chill out for a second. Now, when she comes here, she is fully ready.
Oh, that's the beauty. Again, long distance relationship is like, when I go to visit him, he's been an empty nester for a long time. And so his house is white. It's literally pristine. There's so much light. And I'm just like, look how, and he's so neat and organized, and, but the elevated space of that for me is that I literally can just go and sip my busy, productive, high vibing, over high vibing times, and just allow myself to be in my divine feminine, which is just a place of neutrality and peace where I don't have to do everything.
Right. You don't have to make every decision.
Every decision. And there are a gazillion women out there that are like me. We do it all. The cape stays on. And now in this part of my journey, so much gratitude. And I told you this just last night, babe. It's like I now have officially taken my cape off.
Oh, yeah.
Now, but here's the deal. The cape's in a glass cage. Where if I need to go break that bad boy and put her back on and go do the necessary things I have to do, because that is just, a part of my existence.
Right, it's part of life.
Part of life. I'm part of the 92%, y'all. And, we do the most all the time, always. But it is beautiful when you are in partnership. And this long distance piece, I look at it as my little mini vacation. I look at it, and that's literally the intentionality around the energy of how you are choosing to look at this very big thing of being apart by distance that takes a plane ride or a very long car ride to get to. It's like, unfortunately, you do have to look at these things, in an elevated way. And he loved that Coach Dawn that shows up. And I'm just like, serve me.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. No, it's perfect. When we come back, though, we're going to talk about overcoming loneliness and challenges, but we'll be right back.
One of the biggest questions I get asked is that, what does a life coach actually do? And I say, you know what? I'm not really sure, but I can tell you what I do. And I am your guide back to your authentic selves. But I meet you where you are right now in your healing journey. We start from today. We don't have to go back, but sometimes going back happens to bubble up in the forefront as we are present and doing our work to heal. And so when you're ready to lean into that knowing, give me a call. Come join Coach Dawn in this process.
So you got to join Coach Dawn. Right? If you fill that out, she will hit you back.
Thank you, baby, for joining Coach Dawn.
Hey, I joined. I was an early joiner. I joined when you bought my book. I was like, who is this woman?
I didn't ask for nothing free.
Didn't even ask.
Inspiration as business owners. Yeah. That was also very intentional on my part. Like, look, let me show that this is a mindset that I have with other amazing entrepreneurs. I support their work, books, programs, and why wouldn't I do that same thing for somebody that I care about?
Yeah. That was before you really cared. That's what got me.
That just showed you
It did show me.
that is part of who I am. And of
Yeah.
course, I'm, going to treat my partner with some of those core competencies. I do say I am a human of integrity, and I'm very
Absolutely.
consistent. And just like you said before, we got to pay attention just to those off moments. What are our partners saying when they're talking to their friends? How do they treat their children? How are they when they're with their siblings? We have to watch some of those nonverbal things because they are showing you, well, this is who I am.
Right.
Okay. Because we've got
Yeah.
to understand that model behavior, or that, what do they call it? Weekend behavior.
Oh, weekend behavior. I never heard of that. What is that?
Weekend behavior is like everybody can be good
Oh,
for a weekend. Everybody can be on their best behavior on the weekend because you get weekend privileges and
Got you.
special things happen on the weekend. But come Monday,
Yeah, right.
how are you showing up? So this is dope, where we're moving into a space of how we have collaborated, personally in our relationship, and then also navigating the space of being business owners.
Yeah, which is what our next episode is going to be about. We're going to talk about how we navigate being two business owners, how we support each other's businesses, we support each other's strategy, and how we've merged that into a unified game plan and blueprint. In any event, we want to talk about overcoming loneliness and challenges. And I think that we have a unique disposition that most people suffer with, right? I mean, it's just natural to miss that other person and like, oh, I miss you, So one of the things that our life coach and our life and wellness coach put out in our relationship early was, let's not text I miss you, right? Or I'm missing you. Let's not do the really like, oh, what are you doing? I don't know when I'm gonna see you again. All of that. And she put it out there early, and I was like, okay, and so you got to remember, we transitioned from this business relationship to this personal relationship. So I was already not, okay. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. So, but what it did was it created, and she explained it when she put it out there, and I'm going to let her go into it further. But she created this higher vibe. So we're not going to focus on the lower vibe. We're going to focus on the higher areas of our relationship, because if you focus too much on this lower level, doubt, worry, impatience, what is she doing? I miss her. This is not going to work. When am I going to, then that spirals. And this is why this vibe check card is in a spiral, but we decided to stay a lot more elevated, which there again comes from the high vibe relationship that we have. The last thing that I'm going to share before I let Coach Dawn talk about her perspective on this loneliness issue is that, it also takes some maturity, because, you're not running around trying to hump something every 5 seconds. So when you're older, so you have more priorities, you got kids to worry about, you have, so many other things that are in your mix that I don't want to say distract you, but that you're obligated, responsible for. But one of the things when we talk about the second half of this equation, so we talked about loneliness, and we talked about overcoming challenges. Our overcoming challenges has been two things. The first thing is that when I spout off, because I've already shared that any argument we've ever had, it was led by me, right or wrong or indifferent. I'm not saying I was always wrong, but it was led by me. Even if she felt she was wrong, and she can answer this, maybe she said this sometimes when she didn't feel like she was wrong, but even if she felt like she was wrong from my perspective, she would simply say, hey, this is a work in progress. I'm a work in progress. Give me grace. And it completely shut down all the anger I had, or all the weariness I had, or whatever emotion I was holding on to at that point. We completely just evaporated it, because who doesn't want to give someone they love grace?
Yes.
Right? Our God, our Father, gives us grace every goddamn day, right? I mean, without his grace, we're toast. So that's my 2 cents on the loneliness and on the overcoming challenges. And so communicating and being not afraid to talk about something and requesting grace. Those two things have been amazing for me and my growth in our relationship.
Well, you have to pay attention to how words and phrases make you feel. Saying the phrase, I miss you, over and over again does not elevate you emotionally. It does not feed into strengthening your nervous system. It brings you down into a space of powerlessness, being uncomfortable. It feeds into the fear. And so by not saying just simple phrases, and because that definitely comes from a place of lack, saying phrases like that put you in a scarcity, worrisome mindset. And so getting in this cadence of not using certain low vibrational, however, how normal a human emotion it is, to tell someone that you miss them. And it's not that we don't say that at times, but when we do entertain that language, we're still elevated. It's like, baby, I miss you. However, these are some of the things that we're continue to address and work on that keep us elevated. So it's just a choice. And again, it may not work, for everyone, but I do offer that you be mindful of some of the words and phrases that you just get stuck in.
Right.
And saying I miss you, because loneliness is a part of the long distance relationship. You will, experience that. And in those moments of heaviness, that is where we've got to find that space. And that's why that vibe check card, the emotional guidance skills, like, well, what is the next best feeling emotion that I can get to? And usually it's just a great place of trying to get to just neutral, just trying to get to a place of like, okay, I'm at peace or content. And yes, content actually is a very elevated word and a very elevated place to be, because it allows you to just focus on what is good, what is amazing, what is working. And guess what? Loneliness, if you allow it, is temporary. It is a temporary emotion if you allow it to be, and don't attach it to a heavier story or woe is me. When are we going to see each other? And it is important to see each other. So I wanted to be very clear that Derick and I do see each other, and we do spend a considerable amount of experiences together. We travel, we incorporate our family and friendships in our community and things that we do together. So, but in those other spaces, we know that, hey, baby, this is only temporary, because you on your grind, you're focusing on the things that you need to focus on that inevitably do advance our family, our relationships, his business, my business. So that's mature love. And he needs to do those things. And he needs a partner that trusts that he's covering those things when he's not with you. I can never be hyper focused about what he ain't doing for me in a moment. Hey, I am a big girl enough to know, girl, what are you doing for yourself in this moment?
Right.
This is my own personal responsibility to keep myself elevated and engaged in the things that matter.
Yeah, you brought up a good point that I think we should actually share. Because anybody watching this relationship, they're watching the relationship too, since we're broadcasting it. But we'll go, well, you guys did a thing on long distance, but how often do you get to see each other?
Yeah.
So, being entrepreneurs is an incredible blessing, because we have some flexibility. So the first 3 years, I spent most of the travel time in my second home in Minneapolis with them, because they had school and they had homework and all those type of things. So if I wanted to see her, I couldn't displace her for long periods of time. So I spent most of the time there. Since we've pretty much been even, but normally I would say about every 4 weeks we see each other. And for a while there, it was every 3 weeks. And usually it's for an extended period of time. So if I go, I might stay 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We both have had some medical issues. When Dawn had her medical issue, I was there for 5 or 6 weeks. And we didn't miss a beat. I mean, we kept working.
Yes.
We kept life going. I filled in just like I was the man of the house. We made sure we had groceries and food and got kids to track practice and all the things that partners do for one another. So number one, it's a blessing that we have the capacity to do that because of our work status. But about every 4 weeks, I calculated that this past year, I was there about 6 months. Or we were together about 6 months. So if you take that and divide it by 12, it's about every 4 weeks. I mean, that's a nice opportunity when you're living in two different places. And that doesn't include when she was here. That's just when I was there.
Yes.
So as we wrap this up, we shared with you that, every relationship takes some effort. There is no such thing as two halves make a whole. And we did have a couple people answer that. We asked that question at the end of our episode 6. Yeah. And we asked, do two halves make a whole? And luckily our audience is extremely bright and intelligent and said, hell no, hell no. Two halves do not make a whole. Two wholes make a better whole.
Yes.
So
make the
yes,
ultimate team.
So that's what it is. And for those of you that like to ask that age-old question, is a relationship 50-50? It's 80-20, it's 100-0, it's 10-90, it's 50-50. It's all of the things that it needs to be at the moment it needs to be that. 100%. And if you're a good partner, you're cool with that.
Yeah, you're cool with that. You have to be open to the energy being different depending on the situation, depending on what's happening with loved ones. Because remember, our person is a whole person, right? It's not coming in here. They're a whole person with a whole life, with whole experiences, with whole other interests. And we have to figure out how do we, open up to those things and accept I do have a whole human who does have a whole life. He had to accept that I am a whole human that has, a mother of 3 kids, and 2 of them at the time in our early beginnings, I was still parenting, full-blown mothering of these young men. So instead of him getting in his feelings or feeling like I'm not paying him enough attention, that's when we say mature love has to step in so he can honor that. Ooh, yeah, she's not just my partner, my girl. She also, being a mother to these kids is really important to me. And he respected
and you know what?
Honored that.
She was going to say, I respected and honored that. She just did. But the truth of the matter is that think about what I would have thought had you not been putting those kids first. Or, we've heard tragic stories about single moms doing some crazy stuff to their kids to be with their guy. Yeah. So I wouldn't have respected that at all because I am into my boys, into my young men, and they're men. So,
but that's part of it. But that was part of the transparency in the
part of the deal.
Beginning. It's like I led with, hey, I'm still mommying to the 100th degree and I'm wearing this cape when navigating being a mama and all the things. And just grateful that Derick had to really embody that and honor that for us to even be in this beautiful space of mature love that we're in now. So don't be afraid.
It was cool because your boys were open. You said this last week when we talked about transparency. I don't know what part, but the boys were open to having, I'm not saying straight out of the gate, but after a while after a while, they were open to having that other perspective. And we have our own relationship, right? They call me, I call them. They send me funny things periodically. Luke just sent me a tweet from my nephew playing football at the Eagles, and I hadn't even seen it. So I was like, oh, bet. So we have our own relationship where we connect and do men things, and that's super cool. And she doesn't know about it most of the time. Sometimes she does, and she's happy about it. But it works out, and it will work. Listen, everything works out in your favor if you believe it to be so. Mm-hmm. So with that, we want to ask you this question for next episode. I want you to answer this question. ideas, what interesting ideas do you have to elevate intimacy in a mature relationship? And I'm not just talking long distance. I'm talking any relationship, mature love. I'm going to say mature love is 40 and older. What interesting things would you recommend, or do you do, or do you know of that you really think that is super cool? More people should try to do that. Let us know in the next episode. So, we shared what we know from our relationship that might be able to benefit you and help you elevate your relationships, your thought process. Maybe you're preparing for a relationship, and these are some of the things you need to think about. Like, what triggers me? Am I willing to be open in my communication? Am I trustworthy? Do I tell the truth all the time? All the things that we talked about, do you embody that in your relationship or your future potential relationship? Because it starts with you. So you need to embody the things that piss you off, that trigger you, that set you off on the wrong deal. And we talked about me. Sometimes it's her. So in your vernacular, wherever you are you picking the right words? Are you doing the right things? Hey, listen, if you enjoyed this episode, the only way other people will see it is if you like it and share it. Yes. It's important to comment. It's important to engage with us, because we want more Black love. We want more love. We want more elevated love. And we want more people that are doing amazing things to share their insights. And the only way they know it's possible is by watching shows like ours. So we thank you for staying to the end. We hope that you will come back. We'll be back, and we will be talking about our businesses and how we work that money.
Yes.
I'm Derick Gant. Be well.
And I'm Dawn Johnson. Thank you so much.
I stole your be well. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you be doing that.
I know. Not with more than just the ending. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much.